Well, the weather outside is frightful, but this panel is so delightful. The holidays are upon us, and we thought it would be a nice idea to hear from some of our panelists about their favorite Christmas time memories. Tom, let's start with you.
Well, you know, when I was young, my mother and our family, we were kind of, you know, she was a very artistic person and everything. And one of the things we always did before Christmas, we made our own Christmas cards. There were 4 of us children, 2 boys, 2 girls. And every Christmas, it was the old, the block prints, they called them. You would take linoleum tile and dig out, you know, and make these things, and you would print them. And part of our tradition was not just making the cards, but we actually, I still have it somewhere, there's a tree skirt. And every single card, all 4 of us would put them on every year. And this tree skirt was rather large and was covered with all of things that we ourselves had made. It was a wonderful tradition. And my mother, some of my ancestors were bakers, and my mother baked the best. You know, Pfannkuchens, it was German stuff, you know, but really good Stellans, cookies, you know, I mean, we had all these things we did
All the
really
good stuff.
before Christmas. It was a great lead up.
Yeah.
So I
Sure,
enjoyed it.
sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Bob, what say you?
You know, there's so many great Christmas memories. So I want my mom to know that before I bring this out, because I know she'll watch this segment. But you know, I was asked one time in an article that the Herald Mail did back. They contacted some elected officials and wanted to know their best Christmas memory and everything. You know, my dad, who passed away in '99, but you know, he was a fantastic ping pong player.
Oh, really?
I mean, fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay, and I mean, he could have been. I mean, he was in the Korean theater. He could have been in the Korean War what Forrest Gump was in the Vietnam War. Okay, I mean, he was that good, and he worked a lot. I mean, a lot. You know, my dad worked 2 jobs almost as long as I can remember. He was a cop in the city of Hagerstown, plus he did other things like he drove a truck for Charlton Brothers and things like that to make ends meet. And we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time together growing up. My mom was the one who interacted with us the most, probably 90% of the time. But my dad bought me a ping pong table one year for Christmas. And I was so excited because that was one thing that he knew how to do really well. And, you know, and we spent a lot of time whenever we had the opportunity playing ping pong. And it was a chance for us to talk and do things like that we never had a chance to do. So that was probably, I remember I was so excited that day on Christmas morning, you know. And I was older. I mean, it wasn't like I was 8,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Yeah.
but I was just excited about it. The fact that we were going to spend some more time together and be able to do something fun. And so,
Very cool.
instead of him just yelling at me.
Colin?
Well, and it's not, you know, one particular thing. I would say my fondest Christmas memories are when I was little, between
When you had hair?
when I had hair,
Okay.
copious amounts of hair, between the plastic Christmas tree and the Christmas lights that probably could have set half the city on fire, and my dad's Nat King Cole or Louis Armstrong Christmas records. And just sitting there by the tree, listening to Christmas music and the Elvis Christmas albums.
Oh, yes, indeed, buddy. Elvis.
And just sitting there as a family, and just that. Ultimately, I think that's what Christmas is about. It's not about anything that you put into it. It's a family time, and it's that closeness that you have, especially on Christmas Eve, as you're waiting to go to bed. And as a kid, you know, especially the magic of the moment,
Right,
you get wrapped up in, and that's what I would say.
All right.
Yeah. What about you?
How about me? Well, you know, for me, and this is a tradition that started when I was a child, I remember that my mom never made a whole lot of different types of cookies. All she ever made were chocolate chip Toll House cookies.
Nothing wrong with that, just so you know.
Exactly. And
Chocolate
I
makes
have
the world go round.
and it was one of those things where she took the recipe off the back of the Nestle semi-sweet morsel bag, and my mother was an efficient woman, and she changed things enough that it really changed significantly the taste of these cookies, and it changed it for the better. It made them crispy on the outside but soft on the inside, and it made them, I mean, it was just a texture and so forth that was just almost impossible for others to, and it was quite by accident. But she did it. She did the same accidental stuff every year.
Well,
You know, instead of
Consistently
using
accidental.
instead of using all butter, she used half butter and half Crisco or whatever the case may be. So long story short, I started my adult life and I took over trying to reproduce those cookies, and it took about 5 years after she passed till I feel like I finally, and my family agrees, that I finally gotten the cookies right. So for the last 10
Congratulations,
years
Jim.
or so,
One cook to
I've been
another.
able to make those cookies, and I'm trying to pass that along to my children. And and I made probably 80 dozen this past weekend, but it is amazing to get them involved, and they're involved at different levels at different times. And even if they're not involved, even just sitting there watching them eat them, which I will complain about because we went through half of a gallon bag on Saturday of cookies, and I had none, or maybe one or two. But 3 kids went through these, and I complained about it, but it was good stuff.
I tell you, and that was the thing I was going to say something. My wife makes probably the best chocolate chip cookies that I have, and it's kind of like what you're saying. I mean, they are soft and chewy, and and not just when they're hot, when they first come out. She stopped making them probably a couple years ago when she realized that it was a futile effort, because if I was around,
They were gone.
I was eating them as soon as they were coming out. I mean,
we give a lot of cookies away at my house. That's what we do.
you need to bring me a bag then.
I will. I'll bring all of you a bag.
We have just a few seconds here, or are we done?
We have a few seconds, but go ahead.
We had a weird tradition we did for a number of years, because we always went to Vermont for Christmas. And when we get up there, I was working in the floral business all the time. You work in that business, the holidays are horrible. We'd leave after work, drive halfway up to Vermont. We'd get there Christmas Day, and we would go to the only restaurant practically open in Rutland, Vermont, Chinese restaurant for supper for like 25 years.
Wow.
But my son loves that kind of food. We all did. It was kind of a funny tradition.
Sure,
But they were elderly, didn't do all the cooking, didn't know when we were going to get in. So we would just go over there, and they were always so nice to us. And every Christmas, that's where we
You're probably their only customer.
Very cool. Well, we're going to give you the last word for a change. And we're going to ask all of you to stay around, because last call is next, and we will be back in about 3 minutes.